Thank you, Louis, for giving me this opportunity to talk on the tokens that are related to the textile industry in India. The textile industry in India is a very old industry. Even Vedic literature, the Harappan civilization have acknowledged the presence of woven fabrics used by humankind. The hand spinning and the handloom industry was one of the major export products from India. Indian silks, brocades were amongst the best known products outside India and were a fairly big foreign exchange earner for India. As I mentioned, there was a huge demand for Indian textiles all across the world, and a lot of Indian riches came from the trade in these textiles. Over a period of time, the introduction of mechanized spinning and weaving introduced during the Industrial Revolution led to the downfall of the labor-oriented textile industry in India. Sensing this as an opportunity, the Indian industrialists too started thinking about and started setting up textile mills in India sometime in the 1850s. The first textile weaving mill was started in 1850s by Mr. Dinshaw Manekji Petit, a Parsi gentleman. Soon after, Ranchhodlal Chotalal, one of the baronets of Ahmedabad, decided to jump in, and he also started a mill in Ahmedabad, which was a composite mill. The equipment for the Ahmedabad mill was imported from London, which at that time almost all the equipment came from Europe, and these were transported on bullock carts from the port of Kambayat. So they landed at Kambayat, they were transported to Ahmedabad on bullock carts. Then a lot of Ahmedabad industrialists thought of putting up mills, and it came to a situation where Ahmedabad had more than 75 composite textile mills, earning the nickname Manchester of the East. It was around the same time that the Europeans and Americans decided to put in their money in the jute industry in the eastern part of the country, Calcutta and those regions, which was dotted with jute mills along the coast, right from Orissa to Bengal. The Indian industry progressed quite well till a first speed breaker was found sometime in the year 1900, when there was a huge famine in India. This famine forced a lot of these textile mills, which were maybe at that time 20, 30 years old or maybe 10 years old, to shut shop for some years, because there was either no water, there was no buyer, and there was no cotton. The industry started reviving, and the impetus was provided by World War I. Thereafter, the Swadeshi movement launched by Mahatma Gandhi also gave a lot of impetus to the textile industry, which continued both as a great labor employer and also a large foreign exchange earner. This continued right till almost the end of the 20th century. At that time, bad government policies, basically it was the populist policies to support labor and workers over the industrialists, that led to the downfall of the textile industry. And by the end of the century, out of the 300 mills operational at that time, only a handful of mills had survived. The Dhaka muslin was among the most famous fabrics exported from India around the world. The very delicate fabric, mainly used by royalty, was a big exchange earner in those days. As you can see from the picture in the center at the bottom, you can see how fine, you can see the palm of the weaver almost full, without, though there is the yarn above it. Brocades was another thing. The picture on the left bottom is of a brocade sari. The others are silk saris, also of different types and different weaves with different designs. These are all specialized from specific areas. That means the one to the left bottom is from the Banaras or the Varanasi region. Kanjivaram or Kanchipuram is in Tamil Nadu, that is in the center. Maheshwar is central India, which is near Indore. On top, what you can see is a very special sari, which is called a patola. It's a this type of saris are called patolas. Now, the speciality of this sari is that both the weft and the warp yarn are dyed individually, separately, and then they are woven together to form the design. So it's a very, very knowledge and artisan based industry, because it's very difficult to know exactly where what color is going to come. Now, there is only one family who can do this sort of work alive. All the other artisans have either stopped this trade, or they are no longer alive. These saris can cost upwards of $10,000 for a single 5-meter sari. Another major industry was the the embroidery industry, used both on shawls and on fabrics. On the top, you can see the embroidery. These are all hand embroidered fabrics. The top shows the fabrics from Kashmir. At the bottom end are the work done by the artisans in Kutch, which is Western India. Now we come to the main point of the talk, the tokens. Collectors have found an interesting way to preserve the heritage and also some information on these industries, because a lot of the information has already been lost, though it is not a very old case. For example, as we go along, you will see that the time of closure or the time the industry went into liquidation is not recorded, and it's very difficult to come across that, though it is not very difficult to find when a particular industry or a mill was established. So here, this is the first token that I'm showing. It's from the Buckingham and Carnatic mills, also known as B&C mills. This unit was started. This is a combination of two mills which were merged together sometime in 1920. Both mills were established by a company called Bini and Company in Madras, now called Chennai. The Buckingham mill in 1877, the Carnatic mill in 1881. The unit no longer exists. They have been sold and scrapped. The land has been used for real estate developments. The noteworthy feature of this mill, besides their fabrics and the quality, was that this was the place where India's first trade unions were formed. This was sometime in 1918. The Ahmedabad New Cotton Mills Company Limited. This was a unit that was established on 14th of April 1905. The mill was sold in the 1990s to another textile unit called Ashima Limited, with which it was amalgamated and soon after was closed. The land now houses a huge real estate project. I have added in some slides where I could find some share certificates of the companies which would give the exact correct names, because most of these tokens do not have the full name of the mill or the company or the factory. The Indore Malwa United Mills Limited. It was established in 1907. In 1972, it was declared a Sikh industrial undertaking and was nationalized or taken over by the government. They too could not run the unit because of the bad government policies at that time. And finally, the unit was sold, or rather scrapped, and the land was sold in 2007. I'm not giving too much detail on the tokens because you can find it already on the slides. Tata Group, I think most people across the world would be aware of this conglomerate from India, but not many would be aware that the Tata fortune started from the textile industry. Today, they are amongst the biggest in steel. They are the biggest in software. They have recently taken over Air India, which was the national carrier of India. But Jamshedji Tata had got into the cotton textile industry when he took over a closed oil mill in Mumbai and converted it into a cotton textile mill, calling it the Alexandra Mills. He soon sold this mill for a fairly good profit and established a new unit called the Central India Spinning and Weaving Manufacturing Company Limited in Nagpur. Nagpur was selected because it was close to the cotton growing areas. It was in the rural areas where land was cheap and there was abundance of water. When Queen Victoria was named as the Empress of India. The mill name was changed to the Empress Mills. This was on the 1st of January 1877. Jamshedji Tata soon after took over another closed mill called the Dharamsi Mills in Kurla in Mumbai and renamed it Swadeshi Cotton Mills. Now you can see he was hedging his bets. I'm not sure. One mill was called Empress Mills, the other Swadeshi. Swadeshi means Indian, or not exactly Indian, but of our own land. So it was Swadeshi Cotton Mills. Later on, the group added two more mills, the Ahmedabad Advanced Mills in Ahmedabad in 1903 and the Tata Mills in Parel, which was incorporated in February of in 1913. In the later years, it was realized that when the government was actively not supporting, but they were actively opposing the large corporate units, the Tatas decided to move out of the textiles, and in the 80s and 90s, most of their mills were either closed down or sold. These are some of the tokens. The one to the left top is a golden jubilee token showing the image of Jamshedji Tata, who was the founder of the textile industry in the Tata Group. On the top right, Empress Mills Nagpur, which shows staff canteen. That means there would have been two canteens, one for the workers, one for the staff. The third one is a canteen token of Tata Mills, which is located in Mumbai. Raymond Woolen Mills was initially incorporated as a woolen mill and was acquired by the current owners, the Singhania family, sometime in 1944. It was one of the biggest woolen mills in India, and later on the name was changed to Raymond Limited to show the diversified products that they produce. Even today, Raymond's is a name to reckon with in the Indian textile industry, both in textiles and in apparels. Gwalior Rayons was a flagship of the Birla Group. Again, one of the biggest groups, just like Tata's. They were a conglomerate with interest in a wide range of industries. The Birla Group signed an agreement with the government of Kerala to set up a rayon wood pulp factory. This was in May 1958, and in 5 years they started operations. Unfortunately, Kerala is known for its trade unions and militant labor. So this unit was bugged constantly by labor issues, shut down operations for 3 years from 85 to 88, revived, but again, the labor problems as well as pollution ensured that the unit completely and permanently closed down in 2001. To cut time short, here are tokens from various different mills. Top left, the India United Mills, which was a group of about 6 or 7 mills, all of them located in central Bombay. The first unit established in February of 1920. Out of the 6 or 7 mills, 2 or 3 still survive, but with the government, that is with the National Textile Corporation, the other units were closed down. Their tokens are from 2 different mills. The one on the top is from mill number 4. The one in the bottom is from mill number 5. Similarly, top right, there are 2 tokens from the Khandesh Mills. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it is mentioned that Khandesh Mills was in Jalgaon, but no other information about either the date of establishment or the current status is available anywhere. The mill does not exist. Hukamchand Mills, the tokens at the bottom, was established by an industrialist Seth Hukamchand in Indore in May of 1915. In the late 1990s, the unit went in for liquidation. These tokens specifically say they are for tea, and both are of different values. Model Mills Nagpur, as the name suggests, located in Nagpur in Maharashtra, established August of 1920. No idea available of the current position of the mill. The central token, the name on the token is Shubh Mills Cooperative Credit Society Limited. I tried a lot to find any information about this, but have not been successful. Asking around, I came to one conclusion that maybe Shubh Mills was a short for Shubhalakshmi Mills, which was located in Baroda, later acquired by Sayaji Mills. And you can see the token at the bottom, almost similar, of Sayaji Mills. Again, Sayaji was located in Baroda. Sayaji was established in 1905, whereas Shubh Lakshmi Cotton was established in 1949. But for Shubh Lakshmi Mills, I am still not 100% sure whether it is the same mill that I am talking about, or there was ever a mill called Shubh Mills Limited. So this is the aspect of history that we can dig out of, or we can record for perpetuity based on tokens available. Not all tokens issued in textile mills were for food and beverages. Here are some tokens I show which are apparently tokens which were issued to a casual or a daily wage worker who were known as Badli workers in India. That means most mills maintained a list of workers who could be employed in case there was absenteeism in the mill. That means for a team of say 5 or 7 people, if one person did not come, the work would suffer. So they would hire a temporary worker for that particular day. It's likely that these badges were issued to those workers so that at the end of the day they could collect their money in cash. Normal wages in India were paid every 15 days. So on top, Ramkrishna Mills, top left, Ramkrishna Mills, Ahmedabad, that it was incorporated in April 1919, closed in 1990s. On the top right, Diamond Silk and Rayon Mills, Ahmedabad. I have not been able to find the location or any information about this unit, except that there even today exists a textile factory by the name of Diamond Silk Mills, which has closed during the COVID. And I also know that that was a unit which had taken over some textile mill earlier, but even the current management is not able to provide any information thereon. Bottom left, Rajashri Fibers Khargaon, which is located in MP or Madhya Pradesh. Again, no information forthcoming on that unit. Talking to people in the industry, I understand that this was one of the units of the Birla family, the Aditya Birla Group. Bottom right is a token of Andhra Pradesh Rayons, now called APR Limited. It is located at Kamlapur in Telangana. It was established very recently in 1975. It was a government unit which which had a lot of problems and had almost closed till Indian Tobacco Company ITC pitched in to help the government and took over the unit and has revived it recently. Recently, as in 20 years ago. One interesting feature while researching these tokens I came across was that most of these tokens represent the currency or the coins current at the time these tokens may have been issued. So here you can see the BNC token similar to a half anna token on the top right, Raymond Woolen token similar to a 1 paise token of the 1950s. The bottom, the 10 paisa coins, the last one of Birla's being similar to the latest 10 paisa coin that was in circulation in the 1970s. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Even today, we still come across these rundown chimneys which stand tall and talk of the glorious days of the textile industry in India. That's it. I end my presentation.
Dear public, thank you for joining us on our trip through time and space to follow the textile industry. A special thanks to Amit Mehta. He does not, or not yet, collect tokens, but his plant makes machines for the textile industry. He made new friends, bought books, and studied them just to entertain you with this story. A big thank you also to John Coy, author of the Catalogue of Dutch Tokens, who provided many pictures, and the Museum Lakenhal in Leiden for the pictures of the paintings used. If you want to know more, visit World of Coins or its sister site, World of Tokens.